Namaskar! Rakshak from NFL Masala here. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 25 of NFL Masala, where we talk about all the latest happenings in the NFL with a little bit of spice. And before that, today, Thursday, November 28th, Anand and I would like to wish every one of you a very happy Thanksgiving to you and your friends and your families. So with that being said, today, after we talk about some Damakidar news, I will be recapping the Week 12 action between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Los Angeles Rams, while briefly covering a little bit of Packers and Niners. And then I will preview for Week 13's matchup, the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Baltimore Ravens. And also talk about some of the Thanksgiving matchups that we witnessed today, especially the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions, that ending, because we got to talk about this. So with that being said, let's begin. So our first set of the Makidar news goes to San Francisco. Their linebacker, Fred Warner, he mentioned in a report on November 20th, according to Nick Wagner of ESPN, on November 27th, Fred Warner stated that he revealed for the first time on Wednesday in a press conference that he's been playing through a fractured bone in his ankle that he had sustained in Week 4 on a September 29th win against the New England Patriots. That means when on Sunday night, when the Bills are facing off against, when the San Francisco 49ers are facing off against the Buffalo Bills, Warner is going to be playing his 8th game with that ankle injury. And I think it showed like he initially injured that ankle against the Patriots near the end of the first half, which he already had 7 tackles, an interception for a touchdown on just 27 snaps. He's been limited, but he's been playing really efficient. 84 tackles, 1 sack, 4 forced fumbles, and 2 interceptions on the season. And I mean, he's basic, and he will be at least be aided by linebacker Dre Greenlaw. He'll be back onto the field. He had Greenlaw missed his 11 games since he tore his left Achilles in the Super Bowl. And the Niners opened up Greenlaw's practice a window on Wednesday, which gave the team and Greenlaw 21 days to prove that he's ready to be active from the PUP, physically unable to perform list on the 53-man roster. Meanwhile, it's still shaky for Brock Purdy, the QB Brock Purdy, left tackle Trent Williams, and defensive end Nick Bosa, left hip and oblique. So it's so with this, it's going to be this may be something. This is the news that a banged up Niners team does not want to have if they're trying to make a run to at least try and get fight for the NFC West title or even a wild card spot. They need every player available because that division is basically a powder keg. And I don't think there's any cut winner. With this being said, we move on to the breaking news that everyone is talking about. On November 27th, former New York Giants quarterback Daniel Jones signed with a team up north known as the Minnesota Vikings. It was mentioned with Kevin O'Connell on Wednesday. And with that, it was noted that Daniel Jones became a free agent on Monday after clearing waivers following a mutual decision to move on from the New York Giants. Sources told Adam Schefter that Jones wanted to sign with a playoff contender, Vikings being one of his potential destinations. So more details on this, according to Schefter and other sources, the Vikings are signing Jones for $375,000 for the remainder of the season. He'll start out in the practice squad, and leaving the possibility for Jones to sign another team if another quarterback goes down in the next 3 weeks. He's scheduled to be a free agent after this season. And I think with this being said, it's another quarterback that that a New York team is giving out to Minnesota to rehabilitate. If you take a look at it, it's more like first with Sam Darnold after his terrible tenure with the Jets and the Panthers before going to San Francisco, and then after now he's trusted. Now Sam Darnold's with the starting role ever since JJ McCarthy, the Vikings' first round QB pick, was out of was is out for the season. Darnold has been playing pretty good and the Vikings have only lost like 2 games so far this season, and they are competing with the Lions to take the NFC North. I think with the depth chart for the Vikings, it does bolster a good backup system. So, I mean, Sam Darnold, Mick Mullins, Brett Rypien, and now Daniel Jones. I think with this being said, I mean, like again, Darnold, he's done really good so far, 9-2. But if Darnold goes down, Daniel Jones can come and try and play some snaps. And I think this is a good move for Daniel Jones. I think he's an overall winner because he now gets to be part of a system which can try and maximize his full potential. Because if you think about it, the Giants have been in an awful dumpster fire this entire season, especially with the Hard Knocks situation, with John Mara and Joe Shane making the crazy move to release Saquon Barkley as a free agent because they wanted to pay $40 million to Daniel Jones, who hasn't been productive or he's been put into a very bad situation. I mean, when he was drafted, he didn't have a proper offensive line to begin with, and the offense and the play calling was bad. He didn't start off immediately and just waited on Eli Manning. It was and only Daniel Jones' best career game was against the Vikings in January 2023 in a wild card matchup. He was 24 for 35, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, also rushed for 78 yards. He did spend with the Giants for the 6 seasons. Again, 2019, first round, drafted out of Duke. He ends his tenure with the Giants with 22, 44, 1, 70 touchdowns, 47 interceptions. And I think, again, Daniel Jones is in a better situation with the than he was with the Giants. The Giants are obviously in rebuild mode, and that's all I can say. And with this being said, we move on a little bit to the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Los Angeles Rams. That game took place on Sunday night. And boy, oh boy, I thought it would be a very close game. The Eagles trying to win it somehow like 30-20, 28-21, or I didn't give a score prediction. But I can say this. I'm literally not joking, but I honestly feel that the Philadelphia Eagles fight song should be changed from Fly Eagles Fly to Run Saquon Run. I mean, if I could like put this all down in bullet points, you didn't need a big game from Jalen Hurts because Saquon Barkley just literally took over this entire offense. I mean, holy crap. Thank you, Giants, again, for giving Saquon. Remind me and all Eagles Nations to send you gift baskets because we want to be nice. We're the city of brotherly love. Barkley just took over. I mean, just being an incompetent. I mean, again, thank you, Giants, or the New Jersey Giants, for being a sorry, good for nothing, stupid ass with incompetence in their front office. Let's talk about the Eagles offense. Holy crap. Saquon Barkley. Yeah, I think when I saw him play, he literally, and I can't believe it's like, oh my goodness. I still can't believe that I still can't believe that the Giants even traded, decided to let him go in free agency, and the Eagles picked him up for like $13 million a year, like 2 or 3 year deal. That is like how much you paid for like linebackers, like very minimal, or even backup tight ends, which is insane. I mean, if you want to talk about insane stats, Saquon Barkley finished the game with a career-high 55 rushing yards of 26 carries, averaging 9.8 yards per carry. He had two touchdowns and 47 receiving yards. Total scrimmage yards of 302 yards. If he keeps on going, he could break Eric Dickerson's record, set in like 95 or 96. I don't remember the years. I don't want to go through like stat hunting, but I know he broke LaShawn Shady McCoy's um career high for a single game of like 201 yards. I mean, Saquon Barkley put 255 yards. I mean, now, and you want to see something crazy? He now has 1,392 rushing yards, 8 touchdowns in 11 games. He could have gotten more if it weren't for tush pushers via Jalen Hurts. And he has 1,649 total yards from scrimmage. That is just insane. I think he's close enough. I mean, if he continues with that trend from what I heard, he may be matching former running back Chris Johnson, old name, who was back with the Tennessee Titans. Great run. I mean, he was a great pass catcher. He could run. I mean, that's insane. And the one thing that Saquon Barkley did, and which we also have to talk about, the biggest credit goes to that offense, to the Eagles' offensive line and Jeff Stoutland, of the offensive line coach. I mean, the Rams defense entering into this game, they allowed 127.3 rushing yards per carry. The Eagles altogether with Jalen Hurts and Kenny Gainwell, who also had a touchdown. I'm going to say this. 43 rushes, 316 yards. That is 7.3 yards like average. And 3 touchdowns. And for more context, the Rams defense averaged the 11th most sacks entering this game with 2.7 per game. The Eagles offensive line only allowed 1 sack. That was with Jalen Hurts holding on too much and a great pass by Braden Fisk. And I mean, so-called defensive player of the year, defensive rookie of the year, Jared Verse. I mean, of course he tried to get pressures, but he didn't even reach Jalen Hurts. Hurts ran when he needed to. And Kenny, so when Saquon just took over the ball, ran for that 70-yard touchdown to begin the second half, making it 20-7. I mean, that's just insane. I mean, like, there's nothing you can do. And the Eagles just relied more on that run game. I honestly thought this was the game that Jalen Hurts, the passer, would need to step up because the Rams defense would try and limit the run. I was wrong. And again, this allowed Jalen Hurts to be good. To play another solid game in the passing department. He took care of the ball. He didn't turn over. That was one of the big things I've been asking for Hurts to do. And he's done a very good job of protecting the ball since the bye week. And if you want more stats from that, Jalen Hurts, 15 for 22, 179 yards, 1 touchdown, and he had 12 rushes for 39 yards, and he took a sack. Which I did not get, like, the question. I mean, again, Nick Sirianni play calling near the end of the half. Why are you taking a kneel down instead of, like, trying to force on the third down play to, try and get the field goal range and score points? And by the way, shout out to Jake Elliott. He made all his field goals, and I laugh at the other Rams kicker for missing that one field goal on one of the drives. But, if you want to talk more on the passing yards, A.J. Brown, with another quiet yet more productive day of receiving. He had 6 receptions for 109 yards and 1 touchdown. Especially beautiful goal line play. I believe it was a first or second down. Jalen Hurts throws it to AJ, and AJ has 2 steps in before he fumbles it. Before it's ruled incomplete. They were asking what is a catch and all definitions, but AJ Brown had possession. He was inbounds, touchdown. I mean, when needed. And Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown can make plays. And they did this without Devontae Smith. Because, the run attack just took over. Hell, Kenneth Gainwell had a rushing touchdown this game. And I want to talk about this. Like, on that Barkley touchdown, on that play, you got to give credit to a returning Britton Covey who provided a beautiful block on the right edge on the outside. I don't know if I can pull that up, but it was just incredible to see how all players were we're gonna be We know what our blocking lane assignments are. The offensive line was creating those pathways, and it was just incredible to watch. And I mean, especially Saquon being, I mean, Dallas Goddard had 4 catches for 19 yards. Grant Calcaterra, Johnny Wilson, Jahan Dotson. I mean, they didn't do that much, but so it's been mainly Saquon Barkley running that entire offense, which is just insane. That's all I can say. That is all I can say. Um, I mean, heck, we got Kenny Gainwell touchdown before GTA 6, so I'm happy about that. I mean, that's been like my running gag for this, for this entire, for that game. So Eagles defense. So it was very shaky to start off with. I did see some of the highlights on that. The Rams on the first drive, they were running effectively. Matt Stafford going more of like the short passes, and with this, like the defensive game keys to that game, force pressure Matt Stafford. Do not let him get too comfortable in the pocket. You have to attack early, blitz hard, play tight coverage. And in the beginning, I mean, Stafford attacking immediately with Puka Nakua and of course Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, another threat on another running back who's been giving valuable minutes and valuable plays for the Rams. He was running really hard, and then on a first and 10 at the Philadelphia 17, beautiful play by Isaiah Rodgers, forces the fumble or with his helmet, recovered by Nakobe Dean. And when the Eagles, what they also had to do, force turnovers. If Stafford rarely throws deep balls into like interceptions, but when needed, he can. I mean, like if you can force turnovers on other people like that while having proper tackling, that's good. So Nakobe Dean forcing the fumble, beautiful. And and I think and then since then the next 4 drives during the first half, I mean, but again we have to talk about this about the following play. The following drive after the Eagles scored a field goal after failing to convert in the red zone. Um, the Rams, the Rams went on a 9-play 70-yard drive for 1 touchdown. But one thing has been made for sure. After the Rams drives have gone to the end zone in the first 2 drives, Big Fangio, the defensive coordinator for the Eagles, was able to make adjustments, which we've been waiting for, and they held off Matt Stafford's offense until some garbage times. I mean, they held the Rams for a total of 290 yards in total. I mean, if you want to talk about how crazy it was after the Rams' first touchdown, they had, I believe, they had 10 plays for -6 yards in total. -6 yards. I mean, if you want context, second play of the Rams, 3-play, 6 yards. Fourth drive, third. That was the third drive. Third drive, 3 plays, 6 yards. Fourth drive, 3 plays, -8 yards. Fifth drive, 3 plays, 5 yards. End of half, 1 play, -9 yards. That's just incredible. And then after scoring it, and then after the Rams scoring another touchdown, of course, seeing Darius Slay getting hurt and being replaced by Isaiah Rodgers. Isaiah Rodgers was definitely targeted. That's what smart QBs do. He went straight to Puka Nakua, who had himself a great game. Puka Nakua had nine receptions for 117 yards. And I think that and of course, we have to talk about ref ball in a bit. But after that touchdown, Rams had a missed field goal, a punt, and a garbage time touchdown. The Eagles took care of Vic Fangio has been the complete kryptonite of this Kyle Shanahan Superman kind of treat. I mean, if you want to know about key stuff, the key goals of the Eagles, again, stop that fast pass attack was to get the Stafford. They did that. And what's crazy, they held the Rams to 0 for 8 on third downs. I am looking this up on ESPN. Yes, they forced the Rams to convert 3 times on fourth down. The Eagles will definitely need to clean up on that. I mean, Jalen Carter, most of the game he was double teamed. He was held. He was literally put on chokeholds, but he was disruptive. He is a baby rhino. One solo tackle. And yes, the box score doesn't do that much justice, but I mean, it doesn't account for what you see in the game. Jalen Carter is that guy. And and with this, like how the sack season how the sack fest started for the Eagles after kicking the field goal 7 to make it 7-6, as the Rams are trying to get more into the rhythm. Kyron Williams being shut down twice. Matt Stafford first getting sacked by freaking Brandon Graham. I'll talk about Brandon Graham soon. The pressure started getting to the Eagles' defensive line was starting to able to pick to their targets. I mean, Matt Stafford was sacked 5 times, and the biggest guys, Milton Williams, who is having a career day so far. I mean, he took advantage. He had 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, two tackles for a loss, 3 QB hits, and he's up to 5 sacks in 11 games, more than he had last season, which I believe he has 6 in all 12 games. But I mean, again, Eagles have linebackers again in the other part, and apparently I thought it was Zach Bond who was going to take most of the credit. Nope, it was Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean, he had 8 total tackles, 5 solo tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for a loss, 1 QB hit, 1 fumble recovery, and I mean to force to sack. He steamrolled over Kyron Williams. That is just insane. And we got to talk about my boy Cooper, and you got to talk about the secondary for a bit. Yes, Isaiah Rodgers, he was tacked. I mean, Cooper DeJean, he held his own against Cooper Kupp. Crucial third down plays, held his own. Cooper Kupp, he had 8 receptions for 60 yards, 1 touchdown. Some of them were like up against like Isaiah Rodgers, most likely, and of course, one on Quinyon, which I think it was tipped up, but they apparently gave it to Sidney Brown. And a crazy Quinn. And again, if you want to talk about my boy Quinyon Mitchell, or AKA Quinyanimo Bay, here's something pretty awesome on Quinyon Mitchell. I remember taking a snapshot and sharing it with this. Rams wide receivers against Quinyon Mitchell, according to PFF. Credit to Victor Williams of the Philly Pod. Puka Nacua had 1 catch, 1 target for 14 yards. Tutu Atwell, 1 target, 1 catch, 7 yards. Cooper Kupp, 1 target, 1 catch, 5 yards. Mitchell hasn't given up 30 receiving yards in a game since the bye week. That's mind-blowing. I mean, that's just insane. I don't know what you can say about this, but holy crap. This and you want to talk about Jalen Carter, he's been double teamed on a career high 79% of the snaps that he's taken for the Eagles, according to Next Gen Stats. And I mean, I just don't know what to say on defensive wise. I mean, Quinyon Mitchell held up on his own. Cooper DeJean, of course, there were ticky-tacky calls, especially on a passing interference, which was like slightly like let go, like almost like a touch-based thing, but refs still called it. And I mean, and of course, Isaiah Rodgers dinged for a horrible passing interference on a 3rd and 13 call that led to the Rams touchdown. Very ticky-tacky. I mean, Eagles have to fight off against the Rams and the refs. I mean, yeah, with I want to say like I mean, with the way that the linebackers and every single team member has been playing, like the defensive wise, it was incredible to watch. It almost felt like a complete game, but I think it was mainly the Saquon Barkley game. He just took over. But one thing I will have to say is the biggest issue for the Eagles so far has been the red zone. They were only able to convert 2 of 5. Mm, it, I mean, had 5 attempts in the red zone, 3 of them being field goals, 2 of them being touchdowns. They have to do a better job in this. And again, it's the play calling. I see like try and run it with Saquon. You don't need to go through too many fake design runs because they know that Jalen Hurts can run it. But but again, the biggest downer had to be was the end, especially with Brandon Graham. At the end of the game, we did notice that he was clutching onto his elbow and he didn't continue for the rest of the game. We find out that he suffered a torn tricep in his potentially last game of the season, and he is out. It sucks. And but if he was to say that this is it, I would say he finished it with a bang. He was crucial in stopping the Rams late in the third quarter and being one of the people to force that missed field goal attempt. Finish and finished the day with 1 sack, 2 tackles for a loss, 3 QB hits. And if you want to talk about one of the biggest sequences that turned was the momentum, take the sequence. Rams are driving late in the third quarter, for example. 2nd and 1, Rams go on a run. Brandon Graham disrupted to settle for a tackle for a loss. 3rd and 3, Zach Braun breaks up a Matt Stafford pass, ends up counting for no play. Nick Sirianni accepted a holding penalty, which was 3rd and 13 after originally declining it, which I mean, Nick, just take the penalties and set them back. Don't give them like any more chances to like go for it immediately. But I'll say good coaching on that part. And then 3rd and 13, Stafford gets sacked. Then the Rams attempt a 47-yard field goal attempt that was no good. Responded with a made field goal to make it a 16-point game, all because of Brandon Graham. Setting up that 2nd and 1, attacking it. And again, like for final stats, Eagles had 481 total yards. Compared to the Rams' 290 yards. I mean, Saquon Barkley almost had more total yards than the entire Rams offense. And the Rams had a garbage touchdown. I mean, if you want to talk about how effective this defense was, I mean, they limited Kyrie Williams, 16 carries for 72 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, it was not that much. Puka Nacua was the only big target. Cooper Kupp had a garbage touchdown. Demarcus Robinson passing at the beginning of the second half. But it was, I mean, yeah. I mean, Stafford finished 24 for 36, 243 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's all said and all nice, but it doesn't do justice to what this Eagles defense did. They completely shut down this. I mean, they completely shut down. Again, I'm going to repeat this. They shut down a very tweeny looking offense. It's a tweener. Basically, it's because like yes, they did go through injuries, but they are a very formidable team, and that's it for the Eagles. And a little bit for those Packers fans, I've been waiting for the recap. I mean, from what I saw, the Packers win 38-10 over a very very banged up San Francisco 49ers. I mean, San Francisco was starting with Brandon Allen, 17, who was had 17 for 29 yards, 199 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 2 sacks. Jordan Love for the Packers, 13 for 23, 163 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 2 sacks, sacked twice. And this is and yes, the Niners had faced a lot of injuries, but the Packers. One thing that they needed to do, I said they had to run the ball. Josh Jacobs was the main guy of focus. 26 carries, 106 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's just insane. And of course, on the defensive side, they got to. They pressured Brandon Allen. They shut down CMC for this game. Who had 11 carries for 31 yards. I don't think he's fully recovered. But the way that the Packers dominated this game, top to bottom, that is efficiency. And they never looked back. It was a great game by them. And they are, and more wins like this, they can try and give the challenge more to the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings. And I thought like and some of the as much as we wanted to go with the punch minutes, I'm waiting on them to come back and to lead us all the way. Some upsets that I didn't see coming, I almost saw but didn't see coming. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Cleveland Browns. The Steelers again playing down to the competition, and the snow game. Jameis Winston, who had some crazy quotes, delivering some delivering some plays. It's spent in the middle of a snow game, and winning 19-24 over the Steelers. Dallas and Washington. It was originally 13-9, but one of the worst special teams performances I've seen. I was two missed. It was two missed field goals. No, it was two missed extra points. Two onside kicks recovered for a touchdown twice, and one kickoff return for a touchdown, and one missed extra point. Washington had a chance to tie this game to make it 27-27, but Austin Seabright missed it. I mean, Jaden Daniels did not have a good game at all. Cooper Rush and the Cowboys were somehow brought into this game. So the Cowboys win 34-26. Another close one. Kansas City versus Carolina. This was one of Bryce Young's best games. He finished the game with 21 for 35, 263 yards, one touchdown. Chuba Hubbard had 16 rushes for 58 yards and a touchdown. They played hard. This Panthers team, this was one of their best games, and they nearly beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, 27 for 37, 269 yards, 3 touchdowns, sacked 5 times. But Mahomes, after the Panthers decided to make it 27-27. Yes, I'm saying it. The Panthers decided to make it 27-27. Pat Mahomes makes a big run, scrambles to the Carolina 22 for 33 yards, and he's able to get it. And that was all she wrote. It was a very close game, but very, very entertaining. And of course, another big upset: the Tennessee Titans beating the Houston Texans. Texans are entering the F zone. I would say the fraudulent zone. This has not been a good year so far for CJ Stroud. 20 for 33, 247 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Yes, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and Cade Stover, but sacked 4 times and pulling a Dan Orlovsky, aka running to the back of your own end zone for a safety. That's stupid, I would say. Will Levis, 18 for 24, 278 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, which was a pick 6. He was sacked 8 times, and yet the Titans still found a way to win this game. That's just insane. Insane, I tell you. Madness. And with this being said, we move on to week 13. We got to talk about this one game. Chicago versus the Detroit Lions. I've never seen an ending like this. Chicago is cursed. They're legitimately cursed. And I'll tell you why. Detroit was literally playing around with their foods. They had the lead 16-0 in the first half. By halftime. Then the Lions made it closer, scored a touchdown, Lions answered back, and then they scored 13 unanswered points. The Detroit Lions, 20-23, they get the ball back. And I'm going to run down the sequence of plays, which I will never get. They're down at their own 1-yard line. Couple of penalties. Caleb Williams is throwing effectively. It's a 3rd and 1 at the Chicago 38. 2:25 to go. DeAndre Swift, great run for 12 yards. 2-minute warning. 1st and 10 at the 50-yard line. Caleb Williams sacked again. Caleb Williams has to know when to throw the ball away so that they don't waste timeouts and you have enough time to make another play. Because sacks and turnovers are drive killers. 2nd and 17, a great scramble, 3rd and 4. Correction, 4th and 4 after a 3rd and 4 incomplete. 4th and 4, 1 minute to go. There was a great pass to Roma Dunze to DJ Moore for 21 yards. Again, there was passing interference on that play. So 4th and 14, what does he do? Caleb Williams throws it to DJ Moore, who gets who's held by Kellen Wildor, which was noted for a defensive passing interference. So again, you're in field goal range. 1st and 10. I'm good. This is where things get insane. 1st and 10, incomplete. Fine. Then why are you taking a second timeout? You have to get the ball down early. 2nd and 10. Keenan Allen, he gets a first down, throws it to Keenan Allen, but then penalty, illegal use of hands to the face, 10 yards on Trevor Jenkins. 2nd and 20. You have one timeout left, 36 seconds to go. You get sacked. Hurry up the play. Instead, the Bears are doing nothing and dilly-dallying around until 3rd and 26 with 6 seconds to go. Caleb Williams has to throw a pass immediately to Roma Odunze. Gets nowhere. It is not a touchdown, and they lose another heartbreak. Bears, Matt Eberflus, what the hell are you doing? You have one timeout, and with 36 seconds, they don't know how to time manage properly. And this is another close game that they've lost. They've lost 4 games in which could have been wins. The Bears are again struck with bad luck. It's like no matter what happens, they always find a way to lose games. Let's take, for example, one of the big ones they lost. Commanders, 15-12. We see the Hail Noah with 2 seconds left. Tyreek Stevenson does a poor job in defending. Noah Brown catches it. Yes, they get blown up by the Cards and the Patriots. Then against the Packers, 20-19. Kyrie Santos blocked field goal. Vikings, they send it to overtime, but the Vikings win on a field goal. Against the Lions, you are in field goal territory, and you do not. And you're not even, and his clock management is so horrible. And Matt Eberflus, the head coach, who I believe, he said that he handled it the right way. Are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? I believe he could have. I just don't get it. Matt Eberflus is responsible for these disasters. They fired Shane Waldron and they got with Thomas Brown. That's a great thing for the offense. Caleb Williams is playing at a much better level. But to lose a game like this again, this ass got to go. I'm sorry. You got to go. No longer needed. Do not pass go. Go straight to the unemployment line. Do not collect your $200. Just awful play clock management. You can never do that. Stupid. All right. And with that being said, after my Rakshak rant on that Chicago Bears Detroit Lions ending, we now go to this game, which is, again, CBS at 3:25. The Philadelphia Eagles versus the Baltimore Ravens. This is going to be a fun matchup, a battle of the 2 best running backs in the league, Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. And I think they're like 1 and 2, and now Saquon has a little bit more. And again, a couple of stats that you need to know. Lamar Jackson is the QB who's kind of like in the bit of the runner-ups, trying to fight for the MVP spot. He's 23-1 against NFC teams. And I think this is going to be a very, very challenging and tough battle for this Eagles team. If they want to win this game, they have Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio have to lock on. And let's start with this Eagles offense. Yes, Saquon Barkley has been putting in god-like numbers. But, there's a but. They are facing one of the best rush. If you want to talk about DVOA, first give credit to Shane Half of the Eagles Pinpole Network and of Bleeding Green Nation, and I will share some stats with you. And this all goes to Shane Half. So let's take a look at this. The Eagles' offensive DVOA compared to the Ravens. The Ravens are a great rush defense. They've only it's negative 19.1% DVOA, eighth against the run. Eagles are third with the rush. But passing wise, Eagles are 16th in DVOA, with 17% compared to the Ravens 8.1, which is 19%. The Ravens have struggled against the pass, but they've excelled against the run. So I think this is a telling sign that this could be the game in which Jalen Hurts, the passer, has to excel. I think there will be yes, it's easy to run the ball. It's great with Saquon Barkley, who's averaging almost 120 plus rushing yards a game. But this Ravens defense has only, this Ravens defense, technically, like according to team rankings, has allowed 77.9 rushing yards per game. And Saquon Barkley's not going to have an easy day. There will be, let's face it like that. They have a very good front line, led by Zach Orr. Led by Zach Orr, their defensive coordinator, and some of the players that they have on this roster is something that you kind of need to keep an eye out for. Justin Nnamdi Madubuike, Travis Jones, who's coming back, Broderick Washington, Rackham Tech, Odafe Owe, and yes, for Roquan Smith, linebacker who will most likely be returning, Trenton Simpson and Kyle Van Noy. Those three linebackers in that base 3-4 defense has been, on that 3-4 defense, Odafe Owe, Roquan Smith, Trenton Simpson, and Kyle Van Noy. These four guys alone, they have been playing at a pretty high level. And we can't forget safety Kyle Hamilton, who I wanted the Eagles to take, but instead we went with Jordan Davis. He's been so far my favorite non-Eagles. But and this Ravens team has, again, they've done very well against the run. So I don't know if Jalen Hurts or Saquon Barkley will be getting around another 100 plus rushing yards or touchdowns via touch pushes. But I think the best way for this Eagles offense to attack this Ravens secondary, again, pass. It has to be with those death by 1,000 paper cuts and passing ability. And I trust, and I would like to see the matchups with Nate Wiggins and Marlon Humphreys going up against guys like AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith, who returned back to practice, but it was limited. Big signs. AJ Brown, he's definitely going to be. He's great against single man coverage, and with this, the Ravens are allowing 277.7 passing yards per game according to team ranking. And with this, Devontae Smith, if he's able to return, you get more of that 1-2 punch by Smitty and AJ, along with Dallas Goedert and Grant Calcaterra. And yes, Saquon Barkley. Not only can he run the ball, he can pass. And I think if that's and I would also say this, the Eagles' offensive line has been very, very great. They have according to Shane Haff and from the Pinpool Network, Eagles Pinpool Network, the Eagles' offensive line. They're second in pass block win rate of 70%, run block win rate of 73%, seventh, pass rush win rate of 44%, and run stop win rate of 33%. I mean, basically, it's like. Yeah, but the one thing, and I would like to see, again, as I mentioned, yes, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, if those two guys go off, that'd be great. But my only concern is for the red zone efficiency. The Eagles are 16th in red zone against. Yes, they've been 16th in red zone, which they've been only able to get 55.8% touchdowns via tush pushes. But the strength, and I think this is where that the Eagles have to score, have to get. I think in this game against Lamar Jackson, you have to win the time of possession. You have to run effectively. Jalen Hurts, the passer, he cannot have any mistakes. He has to throw away the ball immediately. If he scrambles, make sure it's one of those well-designed plays so Lane Johnson can make one of those pancake blocks, including um, Jordan Mailata. I think this is where Kellen Moore has to coach out of his mind again. I've been saying that last week against the Rams, but he needs to do it again because the Ravens are not going to let you run the ball again. Yes, they may have faced the Ravens may have limited against a Chargers team that loves running and running the ball, and with J.K. Dobbins being out, but this is a different team. I think this Eagles team can run on the Ravens, but let's see. And now I think this is going to be the biggest matchup ever. The Eagles defense versus the Ravens offense. Vic Fangio has to find a way to stop Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. And it's going to be heavily dependent on the defensive line, on the Eagles defensive line. They have 3 goals. Number 1, you have to make your tackles clear, stop the gap, the running gaps. And number 1, stop the running gaps and stop Derrick Henry. If you can make a tackle, put him down. Don't go for the fumbles or the big plays. Tackle properly. Only then the big defensive plays will happen. Then you have to find a way to contain and force Lamar Jackson to pass the ball, because when Lamar Jackson scrambles, he's that good. He can escape. He has that escapability like Patrick Mahomes, but he's a fast runner. And I think, and if you want to talk about DVOA differences, I think, and let's say this: the Ravens offensive, the Ravens offense, they're basically number 1 and 1 in pass and rush DVOA. Against the Eagles defense, 5th against the pass, 9th against the rush. And the Eagles have done a pretty decent job in limiting these plays. Last in 2022 is all because of the defensive line getting the sacks. Now it's a combination of linebackers stepping up to play, secondary stepping up to play, and allowing the defensive line to get sacks. It's been more complementary, and this is what Vic Fangio likes to do. He wants all team players to get involved and maybe and find ways to force turnovers and punts. And again, with Brandon Graham being out, it's going to be very, very difficult on how to contain on how to defend from the edges. So this is where the young guys like Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Josh Sweat, and the new signings that the Eagles got in I believe KJ Henry and James Harris or Chris Harris or someone like that. Chris Harris being a former Lions pick, which the Eagles wanted to get before they took Derek Barnett. KJ Henry, who was a 5th round pick from the Commanders, and he was part of the Cowboys practice squad before signing with the Eagles. So more line depth in that case. But again, they have to find a way to. I mean, if I'm the Eagles, you have to find a way to not only time your blitzes, but you also have to have great coverage. And it's going to be a battle of matchups, and it's going to, again, a battle of matchups. Again, and let's take this for example. Their best, other than Derrick Henry, I mean, you have to rely not only on your defensive line rotation, has to be well spotted. Like Milton Williams has to step up. Jalen Carter needs to step up. Mauro Jomo, Thomas Booker, those two have been playing very good. Jordan Davis, even though he's been limited, although they don't show on the stat wise, but on the field, he's been playing very well, and he's done what the team has asked him to do. I And it's just the edges I'm concerned. I'm happy that the Eagles have linebackers and Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean. Maybe there are cases in which you can have Dean act as a blitzer and Zach Bond being there in coverage. But here's the thing: these Ravens receivers, they're taller. You have to take care. I mean, not just Derrick Henry. You got to lock up for Justice Hill because he can run, and he's more shifty. And the receiving part of the Ravens, there are three targets I would definitely look at: Zay Flowers, wide receiver; Rashad Bateman, wide receiver; Mark Andrews, tight end. Technically, Nelson Aguilar, Deontay Johnson, Talon Wallace, Isaiah Likely, all of them are good. But the main targets that Lamar Jackson has thrown to has been Zay Flowers, um, Rashad Bateman, and Mark Andrews. Zay Flowers and Rashad Zay Flowers like to be more on attack, more on the inside. So you could see Cooper DeJean lined up against Zay Flowers, or if Zay Flowers decides to move all out, because they're going to move these receivers all around just to see who can present your best matchups. Quinyon Mitchell, I would put on Rashad Bateman, because Bateman he's an X wide he's an outside wide receiver. Quinyon Mitchell has done very good so far. And the only issue is, yes, with Darius Slade suffering a concussion, the Eagles should not take the risk in rushing him back. They should continue with Isaiah Rodgers or Keely Ringo if Ringo comes back as well. Rodgers will have to play tight on ex-Eagle Nelson Aguilar. And I would say, and Cooper DeJean will most likely be on Zay Flowers, but in that case, you got to also focus on Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. Mark Andrews has had 423 yards with 37 catches and 6 touchdowns. He's a good threat to have in the end zone and middle of the field. I think this is where the linebackers, Zach Bond and Kobe Dean, have to get involved. And maybe you bring in one safety. You may bring in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson or Reed Blankenship in as that box role, have one safety back. This is a battle of schemes in which Vic Fangio has to call the perfect one. It's going to be a challenge. That is all I can say. And again, and one thing that the Ravens will have an edge over with the Eagles, not just quarterback wise, but they are the number one red zone scoring team. Eagles defense has done a really good job in forcing field goals. But if they're able to do that, that's definitely a win for this team. 100%. And I think, and I mean, it's just kind of difficult to view how this is. But yes, this Eagles defense has only allowed 46.9% touchdowns in DVO in red zone scoring. Again, wonderful stat by Shane Half of Eagles Pinpool Network. Baltimore, they're the number one scoring offense in so far. And I think if that's the case, Eagles defense has to step up. They have to play. They basically have to play a full perfection game. Again, as I said, for my goals for this Eagles offense, they have to find ways other than running the ball outside, maybe run outside zone and force and then really reveal the big plays. Jalen Hurts, the passer, will definitely need to step up. Dallas Goedert, Grant Calcaterra, Britton Covey, John Dotson, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, they all have to be on point. Kellen Moore has to call it literally a perfect game. The Eagles defense, Vic Fangio, you got to find a way to stop Lamar. You got to find a way to stop Derrick Henry. I mean, get to the legs. Don't go low, and if he stiff arms you, get someone immediately to tackle him. You have to have someone on him or double team him and hit hard if you need to. I mean, but legally, not illegally. And you have to play perfect football. And Jake Elliott, I could trust him a little bit more. He's getting his confidence. Justin Tucker has been very, very iffy. So it's something to keep an eye out for. But I trust that this Eagles team they can win this game, but if I'm going to give a loss, it would be with the Ravens because Lamar Jackson's unpredictability can do wonders. He can run, he can have one of his best games, but he could also have one of his worst. He's unpredictable. And I'm going to hope that this Eagles team can catch up and play like a contender, like a potential Super Bowl thing if they make it that far. But I think I see the Ravens winning this game. It'll be a very tight game, 27-24. The Eagles are the 2.5 underdogs, and it kind of makes sense in this one. The Ravens will win this game 27-24. Unless the Eagles convince me otherwise, I wouldn't mind it. I love to be proven wrong if the Eagles win. So with that being said, this ends today's podcast of NFL Masala. If you like this podcast, make sure to follow us on our following platforms: Google, Spotify, Apple, Pocket Cast, and YouTube, which is on season 3. So make sure for YouTube, you like, share, subscribe. And also, we are on the following social media platforms: Twitter/X, and Instagram, and Threads. Yes, we're officially on Threads. So make sure, and it's the same username, at NFL MASALA 2022. That is NFL at NFL MASA 2022. And if you want to, and if you have questions, you can send us an email with nflmasala@gmail.com. That is nflmasala@gmail.com, all lowercase. With that being said, thank you very much. Have a great Thanksgiving break. And from Anant, he says, "Go Pack, go." For me, fly, Eagles, fly. Take care and have a good night.